Ever wondered how far 10,000 yen can take you in Japan? If you have, then you're not alone. Japan, with its unique blend of ancient traditions and cutting-edge technology, is a dream destination for many. But let's face it, it's not always pocket-friendly. The high cost of living can pose a daunting challenge to budget travelers. In fact, stretching your yen to its maximum potential without compromising on the experience can sometimes feel like a Herculean task. From accommodation and food to transportation and sightseeing, you have to manage it all within your budget. And that's not even taking into account the unexpected expenses that can spring up at any time. The good news is, with a bit of smart planning and some insider tips, you can indeed make the most of your limited budget. So, are you ready to rise to the challenge? Now, let's delve into how Jenela managed her 10,000 yen budget on her recent trip to Japan. So how did Jenela allocate her budget of 10,000 yen? Let's delve into the specifics. Jenela divided her budget into 5 categories: accommodation, food, transportation, sightseeing, and souvenirs. Each of these categories had its own allocation, and Jenela was careful to stick to her budget plan. First, let's talk about accommodation. Jenela chose to stay in a budget-friendly guest house, costing her around 2,500 yen. It may not be a luxury hotel, but it gave her a safe, clean, and comfortable place to rest after a day of exploration. Next up is food, an essential part of any travel experience. Jenela allocated around 2,000 yen for this category. She focused on trying out local street food and visited inexpensive local restaurants, which allowed her to experience the local cuisine without breaking the bank. Then we have transportation. Getting around in Japan can be quite costly, but Jenela managed to keep her transportation expenses to a minimum by using public transit. She allocated around 1,500 yen for this, which covered her travel within the city. Sightseeing was next on her list. Jenela had set aside 2,000 yen for entrance fees to temples, gardens, museums, and other attractions. She carefully chose the places she wanted to visit, prioritizing those that were either free or had minimal entry fees. Finally, souvenirs. Jenela had set aside 1,000 yen for this. She opted for small, meaningful items that were unique to the places she visited. This allowed her to bring back mementos without going over budget. And there you have it. That's how Jenela allocated her 10,000 yen budget. Each category had its own limit, and she was careful not to overspend. It's a balance of planning and making smart choices. That's how Jenela spent her 10,000 yen. But how did she manage to stretch it? The key to Jenela's budget travel is her smart spending strategies. Let's dive right into it. First off, Jenela opts for budget accommodations. She doesn't shy away from hostels, guest houses, or even homestays. These options are not only affordable, but also offer unique experiences, a chance to meet fellow travelers and locals. It's all about prioritizing experiences over luxury. And honestly, how much time are you going to spend in your room when there's a whole new world to explore? Next, she's a big fan of local eateries, street food, small family-run restaurants, and local markets. Not only are these options usually cheaper, but they also offer an authentic taste of the local cuisine. And let's not forget, food is a huge part of any culture. By eating locally, Jenela not only saves money, but also immerses herself in the culture of the place she's visiting. Now, onto transportation. Jenela is a pro at navigating public transit. Buses, trains, trams, you name it. Public transportation is not only a cheaper option, but also a more sustainable one. Plus, it's another way to experience the local way of life. It might take a bit longer to get from point A to point B, but the journey is half the fun, right? Visiting free attractions is another one of Jenela's strategies. Museums, parks, historic sites, local festivals. There's a wealth of experiences out there that don't cost a penny. It's all about doing your research and planning ahead. Some places might have certain days or hours when admission is free, so it's always worth checking out. And finally, souvenirs. Instead of going for the usual touristy trinkets, Jenela prefers to buy local. She hunts for unique items in local markets, thrift stores, or artisan shops. Not only does this support the local economy, but it also ensures that she brings home something truly unique. All these strategies boil down to one thing: making conscious decisions. It's about being aware of where your money is going and making choices that align with your values and priorities. It's about choosing experiences over material things and making each penny count. And remember, it's not about depriving yourself. It's about finding the balance between enjoying your trip and not breaking the bank. It's about making smart choices that allow you to make the most of your travel experience. These strategies help Jenela to make her budget stretch further. But what if things don't go as planned? Travel often comes with unexpected expenses, and Jenela's journey was no exception. Unpredictable elements such as weather can suddenly alter plans, and Jenela found herself in such a situation. A sudden rainstorm changed her day's itinerary, leading to additional expenses for indoor activities. However, she didn't let this dampen her spirits or her budget. Instead, she adjusted her plans to accommodate budget-friendly indoor attractions, proving that flexibility is key when dealing with unforeseen circumstances. But weather wasn't the only factor that threw a curveball at her. Imagine finding out that an attraction you've been excited to visit is unexpectedly closed. This happened to Jenela, but she didn't let it throw her off track. Instead, she used this as an opportunity to explore other local sites she hadn't initially planned for. It was a surprise expense, but one that led to unexpected adventures. Transportation can also be a wildcard. Prices can fluctuate, and sometimes you might need to take a more expensive route due to time constraints or other reasons. Jenela faced this too when a cheaper but longer route was not feasible, and she had to opt for a pricier, quicker alternative. She handled this by balancing out the rest of her day's expenses, proving that smart budgeting isn't just about planning, it's about adapting. So, what's the secret to dealing with these unexpected expenses? It's having a contingency plan. Jenela always set aside a portion of her budget for just-in-case scenarios. This safety net allowed her to handle these surprises without stress or worry. It's a strategy anyone can adopt, and it proves that even when traveling on a budget, you can still have room for flexibility and spontaneity. Facing unexpected costs can be daunting, but with a contingency plan, it's manageable. Remember, travel is about adventure and discovery, and sometimes the surprises along the way end up being the most memorable parts of the journey. So what can we learn from Jenela's 10,000 yen journey? Well, there's quite a bit to unpack. It all begins with the challenge of budget travel. Jenela showed us that it's not just possible, but also enjoyable to explore Japan on a shoestring budget of 10,000 yen. The key, as she demonstrated, lies in thoughtful budget allocation. This doesn't mean compromising on experiences, but rather choosing wisely where to spend and where to save. One of the most significant aspects of Jenela's journey was her smart spending strategies. She showed us that being a budget traveler doesn't necessarily mean skimping on experiences. From eating at local food stalls to choosing affordable public transport, Jenela found ways to stretch her yen without missing out on the beauty and culture of Japan. But even the best-laid plans can go awry, and that's where the lesson about dealing with unexpected expenses comes in. Jenela's experience taught us the importance of always having a contingency plan. When she faced unforeseen costs, she didn't panic. Instead, she adjusted her plans and made the most of her remaining budget. And that's what budget travel is all about, isn't it? It's not just about seeing how little you can spend, it's about making the most of what you have. It's about smart decision-making, adaptability, and the spirit of adventure. It's about embracing the unexpected and learning to roll with the punches. Jenela's 10,000 yen journey wasn't just a trip. It was an exercise in resourcefulness, a testament to the joy of discovery, and proof that with a little creativity and a lot of determination, the world is truly your oyster, regardless of your budget. With careful planning and smart strategies, a budget trip to Japan is definitely possible. Just like Jenela's adventure with her 10,000 yen,